Welcome aboard Just Jets with your captain, Matt O'Leary. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to episode number 55 of Just Jets. What's going on? I am Matt O'Leary, and we have a lot to get into in today's episode. We got Russell Wilson drama and how that impacts the Jets. We have Marcus Maye and the franchise tag. Are the Jets going to do it? And we have your voicemails as well. But before all of that, I want to talk to you about a giveaway that I am doing. Here's how you enter. Here's what you can win. I'll give you all the info right now. So, Manscaped, you guys know him well. We've talked about him a lot on this show. I'm doing a little giveaway with Manscaped. I'm giving away a performance package. In the performance package, you get the Lawnmower 3.0, the Weed Whacker, the Ball Toner, the Ball Deodorant, and a pair of Manscaped boxers as well. This is value of over $100. All you have to do to enter, screenshot on your phone that you are subscribed to me on YouTube and tweet that to me at Matt O'Leary NY. Underneath, you'll see the tweet. It'll be the giveaway. There'll be a picture of the Manscaped thing here. This is what the picture looks like. You'll see this on my Twitter, and I'll say reply to this tweet with your screenshot. And if you do that and you're following me on Twitter, you are entered. That gives you an entry, and we will pick a winner at the end of the week, and I will announce the winner on next week's show, and we will get that all sent over to you so you could potentially win a little item from Manscaped. So let's talk about Manscaped for a second. You can have the perfect package, and let's face it, you're going to need one coming up if you're trying to get lucky on St. Patrick's Day, ladies and gentlemen. You can get yourself the Lawnmower 3.0. You get yourself the Weed Whacker, anything you need to maintain yourself. I even have the cologne right here, which is my favorite. I use it all the time. It smells great. It's not like that 6th grade Axe body spray that you smell in the boys' locker room. No. This smells phenomenal. And if you're interested, check it out at manscaped.com. And you could use my promo code JETS20 for 20% off and free shipping. That's promo code JETS20 for 20% off and free shipping. All right, so let's jump into today's episode, Russell Wilson drama. So earlier in the week, Russell Wilson was linked to the New York Jets for about 6 hours. It was fun for about 6 hours, but then Adam Schefter kind of put that all to bed. But this still could have an impact on the Jets if he does get traded. So Dallas could potentially be a suitor, the Raiders, and the list can go on and on and on. But it doesn't necessarily matter where he gets traded for what I want to talk about. How this still can impact the Jets is because they hold Russell Wilson's, or the Seattle's, first round pick. So if Seattle moves on from Russell Wilson, that helps the New York Jets because the Seattle Seahawks would be more likely to lose more games, which makes their draft pick higher. This year, it's coming in at 23. We thought it'd be a later 20 pick. We lucked out. Jets fans lucked out with the 23rd overall pick from Seattle. If they were to move on from Russell Wilson, what do you think that team is? They went, 12-4 this past year? If they have insert replacement level quarterback here on that team, they're maybe, a 5 or a 6 win team, a 4-12 team, something like that. And now you're talking about a potential top 10 pick. That would be an intriguing thing for the New York Jets if the Seattle Seahawks were to move on from Russell Wilson. I'm not betting on this happening. I think that would be beyond stupid. But if the Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson relationship is just too far gone and you have to move on from him, well, the New York Jets are going to be smiling from ear to ear, and Joe Douglas is going to be doing a huge smile because that pick in 2022 is looking a lot better, which just goes back to show you from the get-go how dumb the Jamal Adams trade was. They should have never given up 2 first-round picks. And the fact they gave up 2 first-round picks and a third for Jamal is insane. If it was 1 first and a third, I would have been more than satisfied for the New York Jets. But they got a first, a third, and then another first. That's tremendous. And a starting safety. That was such a good trade for Joe Douglas. I know McDougal didn't play well, and he only played a few games for the New York Jets, but it was such a good trade. And if Russell Wilson does get moved, like I'm saying right now, I don't think it's going to be the Jets. They pretty much put that one to bed. But if he was to get traded to, I don't know, we'll say the Raiders or to Dallas or to the Saints or something like that, then the Seattle Seahawks, what's their plan at quarterback? right? Like what is their plan? I guess that draft one maybe, but is a rookie quarterback going to be able to go in there and win games? No. Is a quarterback who's hitting the market that's like I don't know, is a Marcus Mariota going to go there and win a bunch of games? I don't think so. Like, this is probably a team that's winning, like I said, 4, 5, 6 games, maybe without Russell Wilson. He's a top 5 quarterback in football, and he elevates that team and that offense. It's clear that he does that, and it'd be stupid to move on from him, but we have to talk about just the fact that, one, the rumors are out there is a little bit scary, and two, on top of that, it does have a massive impact on the Jets. Even if they're not trading for Russell Wilson themselves, they hold the first-round pick of the Seattle Seahawks, so if they're moving on from their franchise quarterback, obviously the assumption is their draft stock is going up higher. So we would love to see that. As a Jets fan, you should be rooting for Russell Wilson to get traded. The second thing I wanted to get into before we do the voicemails is Marcus Maye and the franchise tag. So there is a chance that Marcus Maye gets franchised. Now, I would be okay with giving him a long-term deal, like a 4-year deal, something like that. He's going to be 28 years old this year, so if you were to give him a 4-year deal, let's say you'd have him signed for 28, 29, 30, and 31. Which I'm okay with, but he's a little bit of an older free agent, so if the Jets wanted to, they could franchise tag him, so give him a 1-year deal at 28 years old. For the tag will be between $10 and $11 million, which that's very cost effective when you consider what he's probably would get on the open market. Like, if he's signing a 4-year deal, he's probably signing for $12+ million would be my assumption. Now, 10 or 11 is probably undervalued for what Marcus Maye is looking for. It wouldn't surprise me if Maye hit the open market, he's probably getting $12+ million. That's a lot of money, but he is a good safety. Now, it works for both sides, and I'll explain why it could work for both sides. So for the Jets, they are seeing or getting good value for the guy that they know in Marcus Maye, and they're not tying themselves into a secondary piece who's approaching age 30 long term. Where for Marcus Maye, the 2021 open market is not nearly going to be as good as the 2022 open market. Think about it. The cap is coming down this year, so teams aren't going to be spending or looking to spend as much. Would you rather sign a 1-year deal in 2021 when the market's bad and then get back to the market when the cap goes back up in 2022? I would assume yes. I would assume that would make sense. So it really works for both sides. The Jets don't use the franchise tag like ever. The last time they did was Nick Folk. They franchise tagged a kicker, for God's sakes. So I think it does make sense for both sides if they decided to do this. I'm not opposed to giving Marcus Maye a long-term deal. I think he's a very important piece to this team. But if you're looking for an alternative other than just letting him walk, which would be absolutely stupid, there's no excuse. It's either a franchise tag or a long-term deal for Joe Douglas. There's no in between. So if he franchise tags him, great. I think it's a smart play for the New York Jets. I also am a fan of giving him a long-term deal, but if they can't get to that point, or if they don't get to that point, then I think a franchise tag does make sense. So that is coming up this week. We'll see if they end up doing that, but it is something that I think the Jets should at least just consider doing. All right, to the voicemails we go. First up, Liam in Manhattan. He wants to talk about the Jets head coaching search from this past year and if there's a reason why these two guys were Joe Douglas finalists. So let's get into it with Liam.
What's going on, Matt? It's Liam from Manhattan. First time, long time. I believe I called in last a couple months ago, so glad to get back on. So,
yeah, thanks for coming back, man.
So what came to my mind was Joe Douglas, back in early January, seemed to narrow his candidates down to Arthur Smith and Robert Saleh. So do you think Joe Douglas was looking for head coaching candidates that were looking to keep Sam Darnold, because there was no real other outstanding coach that was on our radar. So being that Joe Douglas probably knew that Saleh was bringing in the West Coast offense, which fits Sam's playing style, and Arthur Smith, who took a quarterback from Adam Gase, Ryan Tannehill, and polished him into an elite game manager. So that's just a thought that came to my head, and I came to the conclusion that he was looking for people to keep Sam, but I can be completely off base. But let me know your thoughts on what I noted. And yeah, thanks so much for getting to my call. Have a great rest of your podcast, and go Jets.
Yeah, thank you, Liam, for checking back in. Appreciate the call. I think it's a good question, and it's an interesting point. So obviously those two guys were, guys that would make sense for Sam Darnold. I get this side of it, I really do, but I don't think he made the decision based on what he particularly wanted to do with Sam Darnold. maybe that's a part of it. Like, obviously, during the interview process, they're asking what your plan is for this team. And maybe it is with Sam Darnold, but at the same time, could they run both of those potential offenses with Zach Wilson or Justin Fields? I would say yes. I think you could. And you could maybe even make the case that the ceiling for their offense would be higher with one of those two guys over Darnold. But I really do think, and this is not going to be a popular take, I guess, because it's so polarizing of a topic, usually on one side or the other. While I am team draft a quarterback, I do have this sliver of hope that if they were to keep Sam Darnold, that there is a chance it could work out. Is it extremely risky? Yes, I am not personally comfortable taking that risk. But if the Jets were to do that, I do think LaFleur has a chance to revive Sam Darnold. If Darnold's going to be revived, I don't know. This is such a hot button issue, right? It's such a hot button discussion because it's either you hate Sam Darnold or you love him and you want to keep him. But that's not where I fall. I think it makes sense from a team building perspective and just based on what we've seen the last 3 years to say, okay, we can get a cheaper option, someone who you're not going to have to pay, who you're not going to have to invest, who's a major question mark, who hasn't played a full season yet, who's had a bunch of different coaching staffs come in here. Like Darnold, you could say at the same time, Darnold hasn't gotten a fair shake and the Jets should move on from Darnold. Like both of those things can and probably should be true, but it's such one side or the other. That's one of the things with this topic that I can't stand. But I'll say this. LaFleur does have a chance to save Sam Darnold. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think the better choice would be to go with a rookie quarterback. I don't know if that's what the Jets are going to do, but we'll see in the coming months. I don't think anyone on the outside knows. We've seen reports on both sides that they're leaning towards moving on from Sam Darnold or they're leaning towards staying with him. We don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen with that, and it's a wait-and-see game. It's a boring answer. I'm sorry, Liam. I don't have a better answer for you, but it's a wait-and-see game right now. Michael from North Carolina is up next, and he too wants to talk about Sam Darnold.
Hey, Michael from North Carolina. Listen, here's my thought process and wondering what your take on this is. I think regardless, you have to give Sam Darnold another year. Ever since college, started out freshman, whatever, had one coach and continued on. Every year he's had a new system pretty much. And due to injury plagues, I understand he can't read defenses. However, I think if you give him this 1 year, you trade out of number 2, you set yourself up for this year and next year. And worst case scenario is you get a plug and play quarterback the following year, and then hopefully you get what you need throughout time as a quarterback is concerned. All right.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying, Michael, but here's my fear. So let's say you build the roster around Sam Darnold. He's still not good, but this roster overall is better. You're probably not picking in the top 2. You're probably, picking 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that if you go 5-11, 6-10, and you want to move on. And do we know if next year's quarterback class is going to be as good as this one? Like, that's the thing. It's always like, oh, next year's class. We'll get it next year's class. And they did that in 2017, which I think was a mistake because you could have went with Watson or Mahomes. Both those guys were sitting there for the Jets, and they took a box safety at 6. And they doubled down on their mistake, which was reaching for Christian Hackenberg in the second round in 2016, which is a massive, massive miss from Mike McCagnon. That's a story for another day. But I don't think the Jets owe it to Sam Darnold to give him that other chance. They have to do what's best for their team. It's crappy. It's not a nice thing. And I really wish things worked with Sam Darnold, and maybe it still can. I think it's the percentages of that happening, I think, is small, but I can't possibly sit here and say it's impossible. Crazier things have happened, but I think the chances of a success rate, you're more likely to hit on a success rate if you start over, I think, and have your head coach, GM, quarterback all on the same line. And that's the thing. Todd Bowles was the head coach when Sam Darnold was drafted. Mike McCagnon was the GM when Sam Darnold was drafted. That's now 2 coaches ago and 1 GM ago. So neither Saleh or Joe Douglas have a connection to Sam Darnold. So maybe they want their own guy. I think we have to keep that in mind as well. Vinny in Peekskill, New York, is up next, and he wants to get into some Deshaun Watson.
Hi, Matt. It's Vinny from Peekskill, and I'm calling you with some Deshaun Watson rumors. Obviously, ESPN just tweeted that Deshaun Watson's preferred trade destinations are the Jets, the Panthers, and the Sea Mammals. Now,
Sea Mammals.
in terms of
That's funny.
probability, how would you put each team's odds of landing the star quarterback? And obviously, I know it all depends on how highly they think of the quarterback class. And the more highly they think of the quarterback class, the more likely the Jets' chances are to get him at a reasonable deal. But that aside, what would your probability be for each team, and what do you think each team probably would be putting their offer at?
Yeah, it's a tough question, but I'll answer it like this: the Jets have the most amount of draft assets to get this done. They have the 4 first round picks over the next 2 years. They have the number 2 pick, which is more valuable than Miami's pick, which they're currently holding. I do think the Jets and the Dolphins are the front runners. The Panthers seem to make a lot of sense because they've been super aggressive in the quarterback market. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're looking to upgrade and looking to get a Deshaun Watson. I think that team is an immediate contender in the NFC if they were to trade for that. In that division, I still think that division's up for grabs. I know that's crazy to say because the Saints have been so good, but I think they're going to take a step back, and who knows what's going to happen with Tampa Bay next year. But I really if you're Deshaun Watson, do you want to stay in the NFC and deal with Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes for the next decade, or would you rather go to the NFC where most of those teams, like the good teams, are quarterbacked by old quarterbacks? Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age. Who did I just mentioned? The Saints. Drew Brees is probably done there, and Tom Brady, he keeps doing it, but he's 43 years old. Like the clock's ticking. He's on the back 9. So maybe you'd rather go to the NFC. I don't know. It's hard to get in their heads. I'll say this: the Jets can offer the best package, so you can absolutely be excited for that. Will Joe Douglas want to do that? I don't know. I don't think any of us could really answer that question, but the Jets have the most draft assets to get it done. The Dolphins probably have the more appealing of the 2 quarterbacks to get it done in a trade in terms of Tua and Sam Darnold, just because there's not been as much tape on Tua as there has been with Sam Darnold, but we'll see. I think if I had to pick today, I think it's the Panthers. I really hope it's not Miami. I hope it's either the Jets or the Panthers because I don't want to deal with him in Miami. Next up, we got Brandon in Long Island, and he wants to get into Wilson and Fields.
How are we, Matt? Brandon back here from Long Island. Just wanted to say congratulations on 8,000 subscribers.
Thank you.
And I just had a quick question for you because I don't know enough about Zach Wilson to tell you this. So I was just curious, why do you have him over Justin Fields? What? I'm not trying to, say, I'm not one of these people who's, anti-Wilson or one of those kind of people, but you know what I mean. What does Wilson do better than Fields? I'm just kind of curious because I don't know enough. Thank you, and have a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good question, Brandon. And a lot of people have Justin Fields as their number 2 quarterback, and I don't think you can have a wrong choice. I like them both a lot, which, again, going back to what I said earlier, it seems like it's either one or the other. You're either just Justin Fields guy or you're Zach Wilson guy. Can't you sit here and say, hey, both are good prospects? Because that's really the truth for a long time. Fields was up there with Trevor Lawrence when he was being recruited. And I know it's the Ohio State thing, but he didn't originally go to Ohio State. The reason why quarterbacks usually don't succeed, or one of the reasons why quarterbacks don't succeed coming out of Ohio State, is because they usually aren't able to recruit good prospects. But I almost said Wilson. Fields went to Georgia first and then transferred because they had Jake Fromm and Ohio State had an opening. So he goes to Ohio State. He puts up good numbers over the last couple of years. And now he is in a position where he's going to go early in the first round. Both players are really good here. What I like about Wilson, which is a little bit different from Fields, he can process a little bit quicker. Where Fields, I think, has the deep ball accuracy, which I love. He has a really nice deep ball. Wilson has the ability to throw from different arm slots. He has run a very similar system to what LaFleur is going to run here, which I think intrigues me. I'm not saying that Fields can't do it. I think Fields probably could do it. But I think Wilson with the scheme fit for the Jets, I think makes sense. And for what things that he can do, his arm is stronger. His deep ball might not be as good. I think Fields has a better deep ball. And he has the decision-making and the different arm angles to me, which stands out. Fields is mentally and physically tough. We saw him take a beating and still put up a good performance. He's a much better runner than Zach Wilson. And like I said, his deep ball is probably better. So it depends on what you like. You can make cases for both these guys. You really can. So whichever if the Jets are sitting there at 2 and they're taking quarterback, I don't think they can make a wrong pick unless they take Mac Jones at 2. That would be a mistake. Next up is Ben in New Jersey. He wants to talk about Corey Linsley.
What's up, Matt? It's Ben from Jersey. I just saw your tweet regarding Packers all-pro center Corey Linsley likely not returning to the Packers. So my question is, would you rather us sign Corey Linsley and bump McGovern to guard and then draft a guard? Ooh. Or do you rather sign Joe Tooney, keep McGovern at center, and obviously draft a guard? I mean, I feel like you really can't go wrong either way. Linsley's a little older. Linsley's 29. Tooney's 28. Tooney may be more expensive, I think, because I think the guard position may cost more than a center. I would expect Tooney to get like 14, 15 mil on the market, Linsley to get like 11, 12. I don't know. Like I said before, they would both be huge additions. I honestly may be leaning towards Linsley because if we could save a few $1 million to fill some other spots on the roster, I feel like that would be huge. But I feel like Joe Douglas would pursue Joe Tooney because I feel like that was his number one target last offseason, and it'll likely be his number one target this offseason. Let me know what you think of which offensive lineman we can get because any one of them would be an upgrade on this dumpster fire of a line. And thank you. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, really appreciate it. And I agree with you, Ben. I think either option is a very good one. You can make a strong case for either. I prefer bringing in Thuney just because I think, like you said, this was Joe Douglas's guy. If he hit the market last year, they would have broke the bank for him. And I think McGovern improves playing center next year with two more capable guards. And then I would still draft a guard early, either at 23 or 34. Right there, I'm taking another guard, and I am building that offensive line. Because let's call it like this. Let's say you have with Becton at left tackle, Thuney at left guard, McGovern at center, Wyatt Davis at right guard, and Fant at right tackle. That's a much improved offensive line. Now, at the same time, you can make the case if you sign Linsley and move McGovern over to guard, and then you could still maybe draft Wyatt Davis and play him on one of the guard positions. You could do that too. I really like Thuney a lot here, though. I think that would be my priority free agent. Next up is John from Boston, and he wants to talk about moving back in the draft.
Hey, Matt, how you doing? This is John from Boston. First off, I appreciate what you and the rest of the guys are doing.
Thank you.
Supporting and spitting out news on Jets. Not the best times for Jet Nation, so I appreciate it even more so. My question, more so proposal regarding the Sam Darnold situation. I'm a huge Sam Darnold advocate. I think he's extremely talented. If you watch the tape, his footwork, his pocket presence, his awareness in the pocket. I know some folks,
good or bad,
divided on this topic.
His footwork is bad. Considering
the trade value potential of the number 2 pick, I'm a huge advocate of trading down and preserving that draft capital throughout the draft and just loading specifically the offense heavy in the first couple rounds and filling out the rest of the team with the draft capital we could get from that number 2 pick. Now, my proposal would be to trade down to number 8 for Kyle. They can get Kyle Pitts.
Oh boy.
Mismatch weapon in the Shanahan offense. I think get Sam a real number 1 option in that Shanahan type offense. For that George Kittle type of playmaker, and then just surround Sam and the rest of the team with talent through free agency. best player available at 23, and get a top running back in the top of the second. I think you take this year,
They're not going to do that.
trade down, surround Darnold with talent, evaluate Darnold with the talent, and if he's not up to snuff this year, you have a draft capital next year as well to trade up and be very aggressive at a specific quarterback in next year's draft, or you have free agency. I think it's short-sighted to get a little too persuaded or just look at the next shiny object with this year's batch of quarterbacks. Now, if you're telling me we can get Trevor Lawrence, then that's a no-brainer. As much as I love Sam, you go for Trevor Lawrence. But if Trevor Lawrence is not available, I think it's a little short-sighted to maybe be persuaded into taking a quarterback. You really, I trust Joe Douglas and these guys to make the right decision. So at the end of the day, if they choose to move on from Sam, I'll be fine with it. But just from the other perspective, I know you and a lot of the other guys are leaning towards going Wilson or Justin Fields. For the folks on the other side of the fence, it would be much appreciated if maybe we could take a step back and really evaluate preserving the draft capital to address team needs. Evaluate.
I cut off there. Okay. So we're going to talk a lot about Kyle Pitts coming up because there's a mock draft and I had a reaction video. I like Pitts. I would not take him in the top 5. There's my hint for what we're going to talk about in the Mel Kiper segment coming up. Taking him at 8. All right, let's play the game. You're keeping Sam Darnold. You're moving back to 8. And I'm guessing Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith are off the board. So, okay, Kyle Pitts at 8. Okay. That, you could maybe sell me on taking him there. I would be absolutely stunned if they're taking a running back at 23 or 34. Legitimately stunned. The Shanahan offense is going to be run. They take nobodies at running back, and they get a ton of production out of them. So I think they're going to go mid-tier free agent and add with Ty Johnson, who was extremely productive last year. Look at his yards per attempt. And LaMichael Pirine, I think, will be their third running back. So who that mid-tier free agent option is, I'll throw out some names. Gus Edwards is one that I like a lot. Jamal Williams is someone who I've been banging the drum for. I think both of those guys would make sense. They're not going to cost you a lot of money, and you'll get good value for them. And you'd have to bolster up the offensive line if you're going to do that. You can build a roster around it. I don't agree with doing it that way. Pitts is a good player. You could definitely run 2 tight ends with both Pitts and Herndon on the field, and hopefully get some mismatches in there and do some creative things. I don't want to take him in the top 4. I think that would not be as good value. But if I'm trading back to 8, then that's a little bit of a different story. Next up is Drew, and he also wants to talk about Kyle Pitts.
Hey, it's Drew from New Jersey. I had a call again because my call before got messed up, but it's about the same thing.
Okay.
About the draft, and I just looked at Mel Kiper Jr.'s his 2.0 mock draft, and he had us trading down to the Falcons from 2 to 4 and taking the tight end Kyle Pitts out of Florida. And I really like Kyle Pitts as a player, and I wouldn't mind if the Jets did draft him, but I wasn't quite sure about drafting him at number 4.
Agree with you.
So my question is, what if Pitts makes it past that New England pick and New England takes someone like Mac Jones? What if the Jets were to trade up with someone like the Cardinals or Raiders to take Kyle Pitts? And if we were to do that, how do you think he'd fit well in the system? I think he'd fit pretty well, considering how in San Francisco, Michael Fleur and Saleh, they had Kittle, and now they have Pitts, which some people think Pitts is can play like receiver. So I was wondering what you thought about that.
Yeah, I definitely think they could do creative things with him. I would just be surprised to see the Jets move up. I don't think Joe Douglas is going to give up assets to go higher. I think if anything, he's going to want to move back. He doesn't seem like someone who is looking to give up draft picks. He seems to like to gain more draft assets. So I would be very surprised with that if they did move up from 23. Pitts is a good player. I'm with you on not taking him at 4. But if for whatever reason the Jets decided to trade with Carolina and they're picking at 8 and Kyle Pitts is there, then okay, maybe you do that. But take him in the top 5, completely different story. Next up is Angelo, and he wants to talk about Mel Kiper's mock.
Hey, Matt, Angelo from Memphis. Big talk about the Jets this morning. Kiper came out and said that we would trade down with the Falcons to the number 4 pick and draft Kyle Pitts, tight end from Florida. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. I know you're dead set on Zach Wilson at 2, and man, I was too. I guess I still am. One day I wake up, I'm dead set on the number 2. One day I wake up, I want Shaun Watson. The other day I want to trade down and build around Sam. This is such a tough decision, and I think what's exciting, we have multiple options of what we want to do, and this all falls on Joe Douglas. And from what I'm told, the building is split 50-50 on whether to keep Sam or not. So I want to get your take. If you were Joe Douglas and you said Zach Wilson's number 2, how do you convince Robert Saleh and the Johnsons and everybody else, Mike LaFleur, that Zach Wilson is your pick at number 2? Because that's what Joe Douglas is going to have to do. He's got to convince everybody, or they all got to come to a group decision on what they want to do. Personally, I believe trading down with the Falcons is a good option because, we can roll with Sam. We're not going to rebuild for next year. We're going to rebuild for the next 3, 4, 5 years. So you keep Sam now, collect more assets by trading down, roll with Sam. If you want to extend him past his 5th-year option, you do that if he plays well. If not, you can grab a quarterback in the 2022 draft like Sam Howell or the guy from Oregon, Tyler Slow or something. Even the guy from USC. So I just kind of wanted to get your take on the 2022 quarterbacks and if it wouldn't be that bad to trade down this year. I know you're dead set on Zach Wilson, but give me some optimism on trading down, Matt. All right, brother. Go Jets.
Okay. Thank you, Angelo. So a lot to unpack here. My selling points on taking a quarterback this year would be getting the cheap deal for the next 4 years and being able to build on a contender with a rookie quarterback contract. And I would point to all the teams that have done it recently: the Kansas City Chiefs, the Philadelphia Eagles. Goff was still on his rookie deal. Let's continue to go back on the line. The Patriots is the outlier because Tom Brady took a massively cheap contract, which was rare. For the most part, it's these teams on the rookie deals that are building up. I'd show them the Josh Allen blueprint and what they did in Buffalo. I'd show them what they did in Baltimore over there. I would say that Sam Darnold, yes, we did have high hopes for him, but look at the 3 years of tape. He hasn't played a full season yet. It's a big risk. And something else we have to consider too, you have to decide on the 5th-year option this year. You can't do it after this season. It has to be before the season. So that's something to keep in mind. Are you willing to give him that 5th-year option based on what we've seen in the first 3 years? I personally wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. But okay, if you want to move back, you can, and just hope it works out with Sam Darnold. I'm not really sold on the 22 quarterback class just yet. I have to do more research on it. But from what my understanding is, this quarterback class, there's 4 really good quarterbacks in this class. Lawrence, Wilson, Fields, Lance. Those are really good prospects right there. And I don't know if there's going to be one as talented as those 4 next year. And sure, you could always trade up, I guess, but you're giving up assets when you're sitting there at 2, and you wouldn't have to give up any assets to get a really good quarterback. So I don't know if I'd be able to sell myself on doing that, to be honest with you, Angelo. But you could absolutely try to make it work with Sam. Nick in Atlanta's up next, and he has a draft wish list. Let's hear what his wish list is.
Hey, Matt. It's Nick from Atlanta. So I know that we're all getting kind of, I don't know, at least on edge about all this quarterback stuff and Russell Wilson and Shaun Watson and Zach Wilson and all this quarterback stuff. So I kind of wanted to just switch gears just for get a break from the quarterback talk and do like a draft wish list. I have 4 things that I kind of want, realistic wish list. I mean, of course, You know what I mean? So I want a realistic draft wish list, and you can tell me what you think.
Okay.
So the first thing, I hope we don't take a running back before the third round.
I don't think they will.
Running backs taken early in the draft, it's not a good value pick, especially when we have so many holes in this team. So I really think like the whole let's take ETN at 23 just does not make sense.
Agree.
My second thing, I want Rashad Bateman. Now this is probably the least realistic.
I like him though.
Request. I know that like the Colts, he'd fit really well on the Colts team, but I really think this is the Justin Jefferson of this draft. I think people are really forgetting how well polished of a route runner he is and what a yak guy he is, and I think he'd fit perfectly in this offense. I really want him. Third thing is I hope we use at least one second-round pick, as high as a second-round pick, maybe 34 or 23 on an edge, and ideally I think we take at least 2 swings and maybe even 3 at that position. I think edge rusher, I mean, sure, we definitely need a corner. You know, I'd love a corner in the late rounds, but I really think edge rusher is even more of a dire need than a corner. And the last thing is I really think it's undervalued what Joe Douglas has kind of brought in terms of drafting high character guys. I think the whole like drafting captains and people like Makai Becton with high energy guys. He's vocal on social media. I mean, how many left tackles are the face of their team? I feel like Makai is like really the face of this franchise as a left tackle. So I really think like these high energy, high character guys that Joe keeps finding, I think is really important because fans, you know, we don't know what these guys are like, and I really think that we should let Joe and Joe we trust with the high character stuff. And so that's kind of my fourth thing. Tell me if you disagree. Love the show. Go Jets.
Yeah, I think you brought up a lot of good points. I agree with you. I don't think they take a running back earlier than the third round. I don't know if they will take another running back because to me, I don't know how comfortable I would be rolling with a mid-round running back, another mid-round running back I took last year, and Ty Johnson. I like Ty Johnson, but I would rather add a veteran, I think, with those two guys personally. Wide receiver is definitely something that I would like to improve. I think you do that in free agency and the draft. I think I'm taking 2 swings at the wide receiver position in the draft, maybe in rounds. Depends on what you do. If you trade Sam Darnold, then you have 2 second-round picks. If not, then maybe in the round like 3 and round 5, something like that. But I'm with you on taking as many swings on edge as possible just because it's been ignored for so long. And this Robert Saleh defense would absolutely thrive with an edge rusher. And they have no edge presence whatsoever. They don't. So I think that's a free agent position. Like that is definitely very high up on the list for me when it comes to needs on this team. And picks that I would be looking at 23, edge, corner, maybe wide receiver, interior offensive line, I think is another big one. Look to add more depth on that offensive line. I think it's a really smart play. You bring up a lot of good points, and I think what Joe Douglas has to do is focus on premium positions. So offensive line, quarterback, corner, edge, important positions, and make life easy for your young quarterback, please. So skew a little bit more towards the offense. I don't think it's going to be like 75% offense, 25% defense. I think 60-40 would be nice. 55-45 might be nice, but right down the middle, 50-50 with the amount of needs on the offensive side of the ball, I think would be a little bit of a mistake. So that would be, I guess, my wish list, but you have a very good one, Nick. Next up is Travis. What up? Let's go to Travis.
Hey, Matt!
Hey, buddy.
Travis from Maye. First-time caller, long-time listener. Hey, loved your take. Crushing Kuiper and Cowherd for taking Pitts or any tight end in the first 4 overall picks. It's insanity.
It is. It's nuts.
I love Dustin Keller, and he was taken at the end of the first round. And he was the top-ranked tight end that year.
Yep.
And had a very good career until he shredded his knee.
That's true.
Gronk wasn't taken until the second round, and he's my favorite player in the league and the man. Anyway, so no, you don't take a tight end that high. I totally agree. I got one comment, one question. The comment is that I wouldn't bust out the chopping axe, cutting players under contract who are assets. to play fantasy GM hero ball, and I'm not saying you did. And winning the off season doesn't work in modern football. That's Washington, whatever we want to call them, and Dream Team Eagles, you know?
Yep.
And the salary cap didn't dive like we all thought it would. The Players Association negotiated a good deal, and the owners didn't want to lose all their players, so they kind of kept it. They actually raised it $5 million. Anyway, I'm going to keep our guys in training camp unless they're like Tremaine Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Neil O'Donnell, who are way overpaid and useless. Like, get rid of those guys. Keep our decent guys for depth, and see if people get injured in training camp with us, so we still need them and get them in the house, or somebody else has injuries and we can trade them there. Anyway, my question is, how awesome is it Steve McClendon has a ring and Le'Veon Bell doesn't, after being paid over $30 million to be our 26th of ranked?
He got cut off there, but I get what he was saying. I don't know. I kind of feel for Le'Veon Bell a little bit. I have no hate in my heart for Le'Veon Bell, to be completely honest with you. But I get what you're saying in terms of not wanting to cut guys who are assets. Like, for instance, I'm not cutting Jamison Crowder. I think that would be silly, but even if you can get something in a trade, I think you do it. Not saying, excuse me, I'll rephrase. I'm not looking to move Jamison Crowder, but if the option is cut Jamison Crowder or trade Jamison Crowder, then I'm leaning towards trade. Or same thing with, I don't know, maybe I don't think you're not moving Henry Anderson. No one's taking on that contract, so that's a cap casualty that I think is unavoidable. But maybe someone will give you a late pick for one of the guards. I'd be surprised, but maybe. If someone will give you a 6th round pick in next year's draft, then maybe you do it. But I'd be surprised at that point. But I understand where you're coming from, Travis. I really do. I get that. And thank you for checking in, buddy. James from New Jersey is up next. He's got some reaction to mock drafts.
Maye!
Yo!
This is James from New Jersey. First of all, I haven't talked to you in a while, man. Congrats on your success on over a year worth of content. Amazing stuff. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
This call is a reaction about the Todd McShay. No, sorry, not the Todd McShay. The Mel Kiper Jr. and the Bill Cowher, Colin Cowherd's reaction to the damn mock draft. So, I looked at your last episode about that, and, you know, first order business when I saw the content when Mel Kiper Jr. talked about us trading back for 4 and then getting Kyle Pitts for, at 4. It made sense a little bit, and after looking at your video and then thinking about it, I'm like, what the hell is he thinking? Like, even, I don't know, like, I even like the fact that he said we're going to run it back with Sam. That may still be up in the air based upon this quarterback carousel this offseason. But, like, no. Why would we get a tight end at the top 5 pick? That makes no sense. I'd rather get Devontae Smith. He'll still make me on the board than getting Kyle Pitts. Even though Kyle Pitts sounds like a Swiss Army knife, it makes no sense. It just makes me question Mel Kiper Jr.'s draft evaluation. I really think Mel Kiper Jr. is just trying to screw us over. I really think he just has it for the Jets because, you know, we've been having biggest blunders a lot of times for a long time. And Mel Kiper Jr. always has to nitpick on our draft pick, which obviously wasn't the greatest. If Mike McCagnon was still the GM, he would have definitely probably picked Kyle Pitts and maybe trade back. But the way I see it here, Joe Douglas is a competent GM, probably one of the best GMs we had for a long time, if not ever, and it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. I'm not for it, and I think Jets Nation will agree, and I think even Joe Douglas would probably know to not draft tight end that far. We'll get a wide receiver, or we'll get a lineman and that top pick before, or even a quarterback if we don't run it back with him. So, but yeah, again, Mel Kiper Jr. probably needs to consider retire. I listen to Daniel Jeremiah or Todd McShay now from Mel Kiper Jr. He's on my crap list now. And then Colin Cowler just probably don't like the Jets. I don't know. But that's my reaction. Hope you listen to this. Hopefully it's not too long. And as always, go Jets. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll let you rant. I'll let you go. I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I don't think it was a good mock. That's why I was critical of it. I like Daniel Jeremiah. I think he has pretty good mocks. It goes back to positional value, man. It's something that a lot of people claim they understand, but don't like. It's hard to explain to people sometimes, and we got into a whole thing online and in the comments section too of that video just about Kyle Pitts. I understand that he's a good player. I just don't think taking him at 2 or 4 would be a wise decision. It'd be like if you planted flowers outside of your house that burned down. Like it's not gonna make it's not making a difference. It's not the wise choice. So I get it, and we'll see. We're a long way to go from the draft, but I think we have to be patient. And like you said, I think we have to trust Joe Douglas because so far so good in my book. Last one doesn't have a name, but wants to talk about trading back with the Panthers.
Hey Matt. Crazy hypothetical for you.
Oh, let's do it.
So, hear me out on this one.
Sure.
Most Jet fans, like you and I, don't really want to trade down. We want to take probably a quarterback too, right? Let me tell you that, say I had a crystal ball, right? And I told you the Jets have traded the number 2 overall pick to Carolina for the number 8 overall pick.
Okay.
What is a trade package that the Carolina Panthers would have to give back to the New York Jets for you as a Jet fan to say, you know what, I'm actually okay with this? What's your price? If that was the only other option, and we can't be like, I just don't want to trade the pick, this, that, and the other. Most of us don't want to trade the pick. What is your price?
Sure.
If I told you that is exactly what happens. Let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear your answer on this one. Go, Jeff.
So I think it would look something similar to when the Eagles traded up for Carson Wentz. They went from 8 to 2, and they traded up with the Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to say the Jets give up just pick 2, no late round pick swaps. It's just pick 2 for pick 8, this year's 2nd round pick, this year's 4th round pick, and 2022 1st round pick. So you're getting pick 8, a 1st next year, a 2nd this year, and a 4th this year as well. So that's an additional 3 picks. So then in 2022, you would have your own pick, Seattle's 1st, the Panthers 1st, and in this year's draft, you would have 2 1sts, 2 2nds, 2 3rds, 2 4ths, 2 5ths, and a 6th, I think. Oh, no, but still, you'd have 2 picks in each round from round 1 through 5, which is pretty damn impressive. So a lot of swings. So I think that would be my price tag. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you are new here, please subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast. Really appreciate all the love and support from you guys. And don't forget about that giveaway. All you got to do, screenshot that you are subscribed to me and tweet it at me. You will see the link or the picture on Twitter. It'll be my pinned tweet. How about that? Make it even easier for you, at Matt O'Leary NY for that one. So thank you so much for tuning in. I am Matt O'Leary, and I will talk to you next time.